Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic, and today we are going to get a little obvious back up and running. So it's been out for a little while I focused on Guesstimate, which I've done the tutorial on. There will be a link to that in the description at the end of the video. That's the super simple horizontal spinner build for beginners. And now that that's done and out of the way, it is time to get a little obvious back on its feet. However, this guy needs some upgrades. So first and foremost, it never actually fulfilled the job that I wanted it to do last time round, because the whole idea of this design was to have a 50-gram spinning blade, or as close as I could get to a 50-gram spinning blade on the robot itself, and last time we only got up to 45 grams. Plus, when we spun it up, this happened. And then this happens. And then this happened. Basically until we broke the motor. So when it actually went into fight, the weapon never really spun up all that well. And yeah, that meant that I had to change the weapon motor out, and that just messed with everything, because the new weapon motor meant that the blade was too high, and the whole center of mass was off, so it ended up not driving upside down properly and not turning over when it was upside down, and a whole bunch of issues. Like I said, and all of that happened while we were running the lighter weapon bar, the 45-gram weapon bar, not the 49-gram weapon bar. So today we're going to make some changes, because the reason why that happened is pretty simple. And to show you, I'm actually going to drag you guys down right to the edge of the table here, and we'll have a look at how a little obvious sits, because that is going to show you exactly what is going on here. And then from there, we'll be able to discuss what we can do to fix those issues. So as you can see from this angle, a little obvious's bar in the old setup just barely misses the table or the ground underneath the robot. I've had to fudge this a little bit by basically taping these wheels at an angle to approximate where this was, because I've actually had to cut some stuff off these wedgelets at the front, or I did cut some stuff off these wedgelets at the front at the event to try and get the weapon bar back low again after I put the big tall motor in here. So I've kind of fudged this a little bit, but that is basically where the weapon was sitting during the competition, which meant that when the whole robot gyroed around, because it's always going to gyro around with a slanted weapon, the weapon's dug straight into the floor and just threw the robot wherever it wanted. So that is not good for us, basically, and we're going to need to do something about that. And realistically, the only thing we can do about that is to keep this blade further away from the floor. So what we're going to try and do is angle the weapon motor further back inside the chassis, and I also think we're going to drop down to smaller wheels, because even though these wheels are pretty nice and light, they do still have a reasonable amount of weight in them. So if we drop back to smaller wheels, that's A, going to save us some weight, and B, it's also going to help lean the whole robot back a little bit, which means that the weapon will be further up off the ground. We're basically done with this old chassis now. This chassis is now going to go into retirement. It's time to design and print a new one. It's going to look very similar to this, but it is going to lean back just a little bit. However, we're not going to go for the same colors, because I like this color for my other vertical spinner. This is a party. For my vertical spinner, this is a party. But I kind of want to keep them separate. So what I've done for this guy is I've actually painted the weapon blades so that they are distinctive. So we have our smallest and lightest weapon bar, which is a 40-gram weapon bar in a fluoro green. Then we have the weapon bar we ran last time, the 45 gram one in a nice bright orange. And then the ultimate goal is this guy, the 49 gram weapon bar, which is in a fluoro pink. Okay, so new chassis has been printed. It did not come out very well. I think I need to tweak my settings a little bit. There's lots of stringing and blobbing that I need to pull all off there. And yeah, this wall is a little bit dodgy. However, if we get the big weapon on, it shouldn't matter because nobody's going to be touching these walls anyway without getting a lick from the weapon. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Also, the electronics are back together. I put a brand new, even smaller ESC in. It claims that it can do 20 amps, so we'll see how we go. I also put on the smaller wheels onto the drive motors, and we've gone over to my DIY 100 milliamp hour 2S battery. This thing is tiny, but it's also going to mean that I need to charge this after every single fight. So hopefully I have time for that, because I think this is the only way we're going to make weight. With the new wheels, the new battery, and the new really small ESC, I'm just like crossing my fingers that everything works. And then we do, in fact, make weight. So I think the first thing is we're going to throw the drive in first. Now, the entire time I did the rewiring, I made sure to leave the motor mounts on because the motor mounts tell me which side is which for the motors. Yeah, and that has actually turned out really quite helpful because now I know that when I do this and fit these motors in place, they will be on the right sides, which is good because it means I don't have to rewire anything. Okay, so we've lost the negative connection to the receiver, but we're not going to try and worry about that for the moment. We are going to pack this thing down, see if everything fits, and then if everything does fit, then we're going to throw it on the scales with the heaviest weapon bar and see if we make weight. Because that, of course, is the big challenge for today, making weight with the biggest weapon bar. So we're still going to just pack everything down, and like I said, we're going to have to try and ignore the fact that we've lost the black wire. We'll go back and solder that, or I'll go back and solder that in a little bit. Okay, so that's everything close enough to being packed down. We will put on the cover because we don't want the wires. Oh, we want to make sure that we can cover up all of our wires and keep those in place, because if they don't stay, they're going to end up in the weapon, which is not a good thing at all. Cool. We might even have to throw a bit of tape down over that on some Velcro in these sections. Look at that, that's great. Okay. We might need to hot glue that guy down as well. So, pink weapon on. Whoop. Yeah, exactly what I said. Need to hot glue that guy down, possibly in a slightly different spot, because I don't want to break a second wire in as little as a minute. But there we go. So that's that. Let's make sure we can make weight with all of this before we get too caught up in it. There we go. Okay, so that's not all sorted yet. The motor isn't actually completely attached to the pink, but that's cool. We will check on our weight now. 145, we've got 5 extra grams we can play with. I can buff the weapon up more. Yeah! I mean, I'm not going to buff the weapon up more now because I've already got all of these bars cut, but that is golden. We have extra weight with the 49 gram weapon bar on there. That is so cool. Okay. Yeah, well, I might see what I can do about getting bigger batteries. Probably not for this competition because this competition is very, very fast approaching right now. But for the next one, for sure, I'll see what I can do about getting bigger batteries in here so they don't have to charge the thing as often. Yeah, but for now, I need to go and fix that that loose ground connection. Once we've done that, we can throw it into the test arena and have a go, see how the weapon spins. And there you go! A Little Obvious is finished and can spin the 50 or 49 gram bar, which is awesome. Now, as you might have seen, there is some tape now inside A Little Obvious, because the top kind of popped up a little bit and it actually stopped the weapon from spinning in one of those little tests there. So I'll probably swap this over to some black tape for the actual competition, but that tape is going to stay there for the whole competition because apparently it is needed. The other thing is, even though this thing hits really hard, like it was throwing around that little test robot quite well, and that test robot is about 100 kilos, 100 grams, got heavy weights on the brain apparently. Even though it was throwing that around really well, and like I said, it was about 100 grams, so it's about on par with what a combat robot will be, or an ant weight combat robot will be. The big issue that I have is, at the moment, I have no way of self-righting. That is something I'm going to have to fix going forwards, because, yeah, it does get stuck upside down. I think I've found a way of self-righting by going up against the wall and being a bit tricky. But I'm going to leave that to the arena. I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll see. The other thing too is that the reason I was getting stuck up on the wall, because normally it should drive up to the wall and kind of force itself over, is that the tips of the weapon bar were digging into the wall and stopping it from being able to fall back this way. So changing down to the 40 gram bar might actually fix that issue. I mean, obviously we're going to have to go down to the 40 gram bar to do that. But hey, if we have to go down that far, we have to go down that far. So, at least for now, A Little Obvious is ready to go. The 50 gram bar is going to stay on for the first fight. We'll see how we go with that, and then we might have to change up or change down depending on what happens in that fight. Speaking of, A Little Obvious is going to be at Robot Havoc, which is ARC's big event for the year. It is a 2-day event with A's, 2v2s, and beetle weights. So A Little Obvious is going in A's this time round, and I am going to do that this weekend, or at least the weekend that I am releasing this video, that is happening. So the next couple of videos are all going to be around AVC's Robot Havoc, because I've got the 2 robots going into A's, a robot going into 2v2s, and I have Annie, Are You OK? Going into the beetle weights. Then I also have 2 balloon popping robots that are going to go there as well. So I'll take some footage of those, not a whole lot, but some footage of those as well, and that will come out as a bonus video at some point in the future. Alright, I hope you guys have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.